Hey my souls, I'm Anya Esma. Welcome to this video about spiritual New Year's resolutions for 2019. Personally, I am a witch. I am very spiritually interested. I am interested in all kinds of magic, but this video is not only targeted towards witches or Wiccans, but to anyone who has interest in spiritual progress, self-exploration, self-improvement, if you want to call it that, and basically anyone in the spiritual realm. The things I will talk about here will hopefully help you commit to a more spiritual lifestyle or expand your own spirituality. This could be if you have never even dabbled in spirituality, or if you have been spiritual or religious for quite a while. I think these practices apply to anyone and can be customized to fit your needs. In general, this is basically about committing to curiosity, committing to self-exploration, exploration of the universe, and anything that pertains to magic and the beautiful world that surrounds us. The first New Year's resolution that I want to suggest is that you could commit to starting the day, each day, with one quote or one image that inspires you, something philosophical, something spiritual that gives your mind something to chew on throughout the day. In this way, your days will feel more meaningful, they will feel more fulfilled, they will feel like they belong to you more rather than to all of the things that you have to take care of. The way in which you can find these quotes or pictures are manifold. You could use Instagram, you could use Pinterest, you could get a book of poetry and commit to reading one poem a day. Or if you are into tarot cards, you could also start drawing a daily card that inspires your energy for the day. One of my favorite things to do is to draw two cards, one for the helpful energies and one for the unhelpful energies. And depending on what poetry or art or quote or literature you are into, you could also seek out one thing that is helpful and one thing that you kind of keep in mind as a cautionary quote or a cautionary theme for the day. It's super simple. If you find one niche that you like, for example, one hashtag on Instagram, you can always just search that every day, like hashtag spiritual quotes or hashtag witchcraft quotes or hashtag car quotes. If you're really into cars and they relate deeply to you, then you could even use that just as a way to start off the day that makes you feel inspired and makes you feel like the day is yours to tackle and isn't just a row of things that all come at you and you just react to them and try to do the best that you can. It is more intentional. It is a conscious act and is the first conscious act that you can take every day. The second resolution is to start a dream journal. A lot of you may have done this already. If you haven't, basically just keep a journal next to your bed, start writing into it whenever you have a dream. And the great thing is that there are a lot of ways that you can interpret your own dreams. I have a whole video about this that I will also link below. It is basically not just about the symbols that you read about, the symbols that you can look up on the internet, but it is also about the meaning that is internally in you. The third thing I want to suggest, and this is something that is becoming a really big thing in the witchy and tarot and spiritual community right now, is a depth year. This is very much related to the concept of minimalism, in that the premise is that you want to commit to seeing the value and the worth and the magic in the things that you already have versus amassing more things. This especially applies to spiritual supplies such as tarot cards or spiritual books or anything that you feel you need in order to awaken your practice. Of course, I'm not saying it's bad to read a book, But buying a book and reading a book are two very different things, as many of us know, and committing to reading the books that you already have, or using the tarot decks that you already have, using the tools that you already have on a daily basis, or at least more regularly, rather than feeling that you need to bring something new into your practice, can be very meaningful. And that doesn't mean that you're not allowed to buy anything for a whole year. It just means that you have the conscious commitment to try and see the value in what you already have. When you encounter an issue, when you encounter a new subject that you want to explore, the first thing you do isn't, oh, I'll go on Amazon and buy something, but rather you want to look at what you already have. This especially applies if you are more advanced on your spiritual journey. Of course, if you're new to the whole spiritual jazz, then awesome. But you might not have a whole ton of books about that topic. But then again, even the books that you already have may have something to do with the concept that you want to explore. So keep in mind the tools that you have already and commit to seeing and using their value in your practice and in your life, rather than amassing a quantity and bringing in new things continuously to ignite your practice and ignite your interest. The fourth thing I want to touch on is a true classic. It is about either starting your meditation practice or expanding your meditation practice. If you're only starting out, there are many wonderful videos about this, how to even just do 2-minute meditations to feel better, to feel more conscious, to let go of any feelings that you may have, any strong emotions. Interesting fact, by the way, and I think this is related to why meditation works so well. I heard this once. I haven't fact-checked it, but I have once read that you can only hold on to an emotion for 90 seconds without perpetuating it. Usually if we have an emotion, we tend to perpetuate it by thinking about a certain situation, thinking about how we are as people, and kind of, it creates a back loop, you know? And it said, that article, this might not work for every emotion, obviously, but I have found that it definitely helps me, that when I meditate or I stop consciously feeding an emotion, that it kind of stops, especially anger or frustration. If you don't feed it for 90 seconds, then it will usually just kind of mellow out. So I feel like meditation can help with that as well. If you want to expand your meditation practice, there are also many things that you could integrate. You could obviously make your meditations longer. You could make them shorter if you want to try that. You could try astral travel. You could try visualization rather than just thinking of nothing. You could try path working with a tarot card, which is a little bit like astral travel, where you just imagine being in a different world or in a different place. And this allows you to often communicate with your inner self, possibly, or spirits if you believe in it. And it basically opens up a whole new level to meditation. It is not meditation in the Zen Buddhism think of nothing sense, but rather in the delve into a different world, make different experiences, make out of body experiences sort of way. The fifth New Year's resolution for spiritual growth that I want to speak about is committing to one subject that you want to study about. Now, for me, I usually don't spend a whole year studying one subject, but I think starting the year off with committing to a certain subject, or saying, okay, I will fully commit to the subjects that I encounter, is very helpful. For example, if I get very interested in astrology or tarot or spellcraft or color magic or aromatherapy or herbs, then I will start studying these things in depth rather than just kind of dabbling in them and then forgetting most of the things, not really connecting with it. It's worth it to go in deep with a subject because you start seeing connections to everything that you have already learned. And this is coming from a person who is very study-centered. I study a lot in my practice. It is an important part of my spiritual practice. But if it is not for you, then maybe this isn't something that you really want to integrate or that you want to commit to. If you're not the type to really read a lot about one subject or explore one subject and all of its facets, then that's totally fine. You don't need to do that the second you start off in spirituality, because let's be honest, we all have a lot to do. And if your interest in spirituality is mostly about self-exploration and self-development, then exploring these subjects can help, but you might want to start with the other resolutions and just start meditating, start living a more intentional life, a more conscious life at first. Now, the last tip, one of my favorites, is about boosting your journaling practice. Now, the resolution in this case could be that either you commit to journaling once a day or journaling once a week or however often you can. One thing that I really want to recommend to anyone who does not have a solid journaling practice and you may not know where to start is that you do kind of a monthly or a weekly review where you not only think about the things that happened in the past 2 weeks. This can be matched up with the full moon and new moon cycles very, very well if you do it every 2 weeks or just every month. And basically you want to create a template that you fill out, so to say. For example, if you are into tarot, you could draw a monthly card, or you could find a monthly word, or you could find a monthly herb that you want to work with, a monthly crystal. So kind of giving you inspiration and giving consistency to your practice, your spiritual craft, basically. Now, that doesn't mean that every day of the month you have to use this crystal or read a page of that book. It just means that you make the commitment, and that is really half the effort to me. The other half is actually doing it, obviously, which can be hard, but I feel like planning and kind of having a template, making it as easy as possible for you to write your thoughts or write your inspirations for the month, that's very helpful. This kind of ties in with the first point as well. You could find a monthly quote that you want to write down. Just basically look at maybe even some bullet journaling people online who have templates and who can help you create the template that will fit your personal needs, because not every template is going to be perfect for you. If you're not into tarot, you don't want to draw a daily card, you don't want to draw a monthly card, that's totally fine. But having a regular journaling practice will make you a more conscious and a more reflected human being, definitely. I have journaled every day in the year of 2018, and I have to say it's so rewarding to look back into my journals and kind of see where my mind was at in certain months or days, or during certain lunar cycles. It's very, very interesting, and it will help you lead an intentional life that connects you rather than cutting you off from your life. Just as I mentioned in the first point, everything feels more meaningful. Everything feels more conscious. You don't just feel like you're being pushed into all sorts of directions, pulled into all sorts of directions, but you have a strong core, a spiritual core. And just like with core strength in fitness and in athleticism, core strength in spirituality, I think, is something very important as well. One last note, forgive yourself if you do not stick to your commitments. Do your best, but don't at the end of January be like, no, I failed at this. I failed at spirituality. It is not meant to be. I'm not meant to be on this path. No. Forgive yourself. It's okay. You're on a path, whether you want to be or not, And sometimes you can decide what to do on that path. Sometimes you get thrown off and you don't have that much deciding power, and that's totally fine. So make the best of it. That's all I can say. Be yourself, trust that it is enough, and make the best of 2019. Let me know which resolutions, spiritual resolutions or otherwise, you have taken on for the year of 2019, and which one of these you may even integrate if you want to. And yes, if you want to dwell on my domain a little longer, you can subscribe to me or like this video. I really appreciate that. I have tons of content about spirituality, about tarot, about witchcraft, about living an intentional life and living consciously. One of my favorite videos, I think, this year was the one that speaks of feeling like you don't have time. We have a lot of time, but we feel like we don't. And it's obviously a problem of like anxiety and your mental state. But I think the resonance that I got for that video was most touching for me this year and very rewarding, I think, because a lot of people told me like, oh man, I'll keep that in mind. You spoke from my heart, and that made me really happy. So yeah, a little rant at the end. I'll also link that video below. Thank you so much for watching this video and spending some time with me. I love you all, and I'll see you next time.